Welcome. This is For Better and Worth.
The podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young. And we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all. Let's get into it. Hello, people.
We are back. How are you, honey?
I'm doing good. Back
Awesome.
again.
Yay. So it's still the month of love. And
I thought every month was the month of love.
well, you know, not for everybody. I think, our American way is, to make sure that there's some type of advertisement, way to spend your money and, go over the top. But yeah, February, I just consider it the whole month of love. In addition to,
It's a commercial month of love.
True. And you know what's so funny is I don't feel like we really buy into it that much. Like I don't. It needs to be talked about because lots of people do.
Yeah, I feel like we talk about it, a little, but I show you I love you all the time. It's not just on Valentine's Day or in February. I try and show you 12 months a year.
Yeah.
364 days a year.
Where's the other day?
Why? I gotta allow for that one day that you get on my nerves.
Okay. All right.
So I give myself one day. It's not that I don't love you. It's just, I just give myself a day of okay, she got on my nerves now.
But for those who, like to celebrate and like to get into it, I think that having a money date is a good way to be less consumer focused and more,
I wonder the people who are listening to this like money date.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder how exciting they're going to be about that.
Probably not very much. Let's just be honest. Like I love talking about money. I'm a nerd and I think you like talking about money.
Yeah.
Are you a nerd? Do you think you're a money nerd?
I think there's some things I nerd out on, money is one of them. I'm a science nerd, that. But,
yeah.
I could go down the list. It's when you get in your hobby areas, I think people nerd out about that stuff. And I think money has become like money talks and conversations is part of my hobby, which I'm making, part of my mainstream. But yeah, so it's important. And I think if you want a good, productive, and effective relationship, money dates can make money conversations easier.
Yeah, I think it's just a different way to make talking about money a priority and listening to your partner when they're talking about what is important to them about money matters and that kind of thing. So, let's just take it up a notch. I feel like we don't need to make everything such a huge and tremendous deal. I think if we call it a money date, that might maybe make it a little sexier too.
Look, I'm going to say, sandwich that thing. Like, have your money conversation and then, go on your date or, go on a date and you had dinner, then talk about money before dessert. Just put it in there so you can have some fun and then deal with some things that if there's uncomfortable portions of the money conversation, you can get right back on track with, fun things.
Yeah.
That makes the conversations, I think, easier. And when you change your environment, get out the house, I think that makes those conversations go a lot better as well. Because people not going to, I'm not going to say everybody, but people typically aren't going to act up in public.
So I think there's one assumption that could be made right now is that when we talk about money, it might turn negative. And what if that's not it? So so let's define it a little bit. So what is a money date to you?
To me, a money date is a set date and time that we're going to get together and we're going to talk about whatever money issue is paramount, it's top of the list. If it's like for us, we were recently setting time to talk about a vacation we were considering taking. We wanted to count the costs and we wanted to see if it was worth it. And we really wanted to, evaluate our decision without being spontaneous, but really being, calculated and planned So to me, that's a money date because we're talking about spending money or investing money in something. And so I think money dates are when you get together, and it could be just you're gonna get together and review the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have to do that. You got to do that every month. But there may be times when you have to talk about other things that are beyond the budget.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's what I would say a money day. But what about you? How do you categorize it? Is it the same or is it different?
I think what you just said is spot on what I was thinking. I think the only thing about a date that's different from a conversation, in my opinion, is that you take it up a notch. Like you said, you might be going to dinner. I'm like, maybe you still dress up, but you're just intentional about this specific conversation. I think the biggest mistake that people could make potentially is having 12 things that they think they're about to talk about. I think in any conversation, you can call it, we're not doing that. You can call it a money conversation, a money talk. You can say a budget meeting. You can call it a money date. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But do not have a laundry list of, we have this outline of all the things that we're going to talk about. And we're going to get it all done. And it's a 2 hour, it
Oh
turned into
no,
a money summit
no
and a
way.
conversation. We're not doing all that.
You're gonna lose somebody along the way
Mm-hmm.
because whoever comes in with if we came to a money date and you had 12 things on the agenda, I'd be like, hold on now, nope. What's your top three priorities on this
You
list?
probably leave the room. You'd be like, I ain't doing this. And throw the paper down. You throw the paper down. Let's just be clear, okay? I know you. You be like, ain't nobody doing all this. And you like money. And you just said that maybe you're a money nerd. Like, you would be like, ain't nobody doing all this. Ain't nobody got time for this.
Right, I'd be like, you better pick three.
And I think that's important. I think a money date, you're just trying to make it special. You're just trying to show each other how important this conversation is. And I think the other thing is you're taking away the monotony
Yeah,
of money talks. I think one of the things if we're trying to make it special is you probably don't want to go super duper deep on let's figure out how to make this decision today, or let's go over all of our spending for the last 12 months. I honestly feel like on a money date it should be fun. So some of it could just simply be enjoyable and like questions you've been meaning to ask, or like you said, talking about travel. That's fun. Now, I think if we're going to do it, you need to just make sure that you're talking about the right stuff that's going to lead to positivity, especially if we're going to call it a money date.
yeah, and you may need to go in depth sometime and talk about things to a degree, but I feel like money, like you said it to begin with, it can sometimes appear negative, but if you set the context for it, it doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to go deeper, maybe you don't do it all at once. Maybe you do it in bite-sized pieces because it's easier to break things down and get a holistic view of things
Mm-hmm.
when you do it a little at a time versus, all right, we're going to jump in and go from point 1 to point 12, and you're going to lose somebody along the way, and then you're not
Yeah.
going to accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish anyway. And
Yeah.
just sticking with that travel example, we wanted to just look and evaluate options. We had a couple of quotes on a trip, and we were like, okay, well, let's look at each of them and let's see if they're comparable and if they offer similar things. And then when we were evaluating that, we started to narrow our options down.
Mm-hmm.
And that made the money conversation better because we could eliminate a couple things and focus on one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could say, okay, on the next conversation, we're going to go a little deeper
Yeah.
on this part of it. Like, is it worth doing this or doing that? And you can apply that to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you think about these money conversations, how do you go about, like, just setting these up? I mean,
I think it's as simple as setting the time when you're going to do it. Sometimes I'll say, hey, do you have time this morning to discuss A, B, and C? And making sure that it's enough time. I usually, honestly, for any money conversation, I'm not trying to have it go longer than say 30 minutes, to be honest. Like that's enough unless we're getting out of the house and we have like a set thing. But you set the time and then you make sure that both of you are available and then you figure out how long it's going to be and what you're going to discuss. That's it.
I think that's a good point because, like, for those of you listening who've been following us, our podcasts are, 30, 35 minutes.
That's
because
it.
we want to get it in
Yep.
and get out.
That's right.
Because you get the meat and potatoes and you feel full and then you can go on about your business, but you've been nourished. And so we want to nourish your spirit and your soul.
You so silly. And I think if we go too long, we're, for lack of a better way to put it, like you could beat a dead horse. Like you're not being super specific and targeted. And then that's again back to, I hate wasted time. Like that is, I do not want to waste time. So I think it's much better if you have a specific allotment of time, a specific time that you're going to meet, and then a topic that you really want to cover. And
I think setting it up, I think it could be as simple as, setting a prescribed time every month.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you have to review like your monthly budget, because you should review your budget on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And so you could have that just set up, it's going to be, before the month ends for the next month or at the very beginning of the month to discuss the budget. But for those extra things, that's maybe when you set that money date to say, okay, we have a regular cadence that we meet to talk about, the normal things, but here's something extra.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a plan or here's a project or here's something that is extra that we need to talk about. So then you might need to get off-site, have one of those off-site date night meetings and, do it on an as-needed basis.
I think getting off-site is something that I have taken for granted, to be honest. Like you are the one who likes to say, hey, let's go have coffee and do this there. Or let's just get out the house and go find some place to go. And I'm like, oh, that's unnecessary. That's literally what happens in my head. I don't always say it. But I think a change of scenery and a change of pace actually can give you inspiration. And it's sometimes in those moments that we get really good ideas. And that is pretty cool. Like that is an added benefit of, getting away. So for those with young kids, every so often you might need to get a babysitter so you can get out and have a conversation that's uninterrupted by your children. Or, if you do have older kids, and it's fine that they're at home, but the fact that like your house is full, it might mean that you need to get out. What you laughing at?
I'm laughing because I remember this picture you showed me. I don't know if it was like from Instagram or something, but it was what would appear to be a mom, and she was sitting inside of the dog crate.
Yes.
Like eating some chips or something.
Yep.
And outside the crate was the baby and the dog and everything else that she had to attend to was outside of the dog crate. She was like, leave me alone.
She was like, I finally figured out what this thing is for.
Right? She was like, this is how I can keep everybody at bay. And just imagine if she just took a moment to get away.
Yeah.
Like her husband just, watch the child. They put the dog actually in the crate.
Right.
And then she went and just was able to reset.
Yes.
You could have such a clearer mind on what you need to do. And that's what Money Days should be geared at trying to accomplish, is gain clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, you have somebody who is all in and you have someone who is maybe on the fence or they're not convinced. You want to gain clarity for both sides.
Right.
Because maybe the person who's all in needs to have a little more caution and see, some of the downturns. And the person who's on the fence or a little held back needs to see some of the upside. And you can get some clarity when you kind of just change your environment and, just step back sometimes. Because when it's the most difficult time to see something is when you're in the middle of it.
Woo, that part. See, you can't see everything when you're in the middle of it.
Right. You need to step back sometimes. Like, in a storm, you can't see that on the other side is clear. But, if you step back and this how storms work and this how they go, you go through the heart of it, then you'll come out on the other side. you can see clearer than, versus just being right in the midst of it.
Yeah, that's so good. I think one of the things that is hard for us is to remember that we got out of a storm before. Like when we're in the middle of something, in the middle of a decision, a storm, a challenging situation, something is happening in our external circumstances and is giving us pressure and something needs to change, it's hard to remember the times that it changed before, right? Like, wow, we did get over and through that other decision and it turned out okay. Or even when things didn't turn out 100% the way we wanted it to, we still got through it and we're still on the other side and we learned a lesson from that. And I think sometimes we're nervous about what's on the other end because of the unknown, but we have to remind ourselves that we got through it before. And I think a lot of times people don't talk money because of that. They're scared of what they're going to find out. And when we were just talking about this vacation, it's so funny because I'm the money gal. Like that is my thing. I enjoy the numbers. And until like we have been talking about this trip for at least a month. And then it came to me that we hadn't really looked at the big picture, like took that step back, that perspective
Right.
taking, and said, all right, how does this fit into the big picture if it does? And that was the numbers. That was the annual numbers. And, how did we do our spending the previous year? And does this make sense? And all of that
I
kind
don't
of
think
stuff.
a lot of people do that. And honestly,
Exactly.
we didn't always do that, but like taking that step back to say, okay, here's the big picture and forecasting, and like people think that's you only do that in business, but this is a business. We run a family business.
That's right.
And if you take that approach, you can make much better and more informed decisions. So I'm glad we actually take that.
Yeah.
And I think there is a difference between like a money date and a money conversation, is because those money conversations, I think they have to just happen on a regular and consistent basis. That's
Yeah.
that monthly budget meeting where you're talking about, hey, this is what we're, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, all the necessities. But some of these money dates, I really think money dates center around the extra or the bigger or the other, things that require you to talk about it. And it could be, if there is a gap in your normal budget, that may be a good time to figure out, okay, we're going to do this to try and find solutions.
Yeah.
If it's okay, are we going to get, second jobs, or are we going to do other things? Are we going to cut something to make the budget balance? And in the money conversation, the normal money conversation, you may not be thinking about like, okay, well, I mean, you're always thinking about how you make it work, but a money date can give you that opportunity to step back and reset and really dig a little bit deeper and find solutions.
And what I'm hearing you say is it's like vision casting. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's look at the big picture and what do we want in the big picture? I think some good questions to ask or to think about on a money date is one, what are some of the goals for the year that we have, right? Um, what what makes this so important? What do we want to see in the coming month? Um, and what can we alter and change to get where we really want to be? We can even get back into, how did this make you feel when we did A, B, and C? One of the things that I tend to have a challenge with where money is concerned is I simply don't like to spend it. I simply don't. I don't get a rush. You know what I mean? I like to shop, but I don't like to part with my money. So I actually do more shopping than I do buying.
So I think we'll give people a view into our life, a more realistic view. And it's so funny how you really don't like to spend money. And I see you'll scroll a lot, and, and you are very value conscious, and you're always looking for a deal, which I appreciate.
Yep.
You're not out on the Louis Vuitton site, Gucci site, because that just doesn't.
It doesn't do it for me.
Right. It doesn't resonate for you. So that's not where you at. And which I, again, appreciate.
I save you money every day.
Right. And
every day.
But it's crazy because I think I'm the one that has to a lot of times cast the vision for it's like, okay, look, let's talk about this. Let's look at this bigger thing. And that's why we make a good team, because I'll cast some of the vision and then you will peel the vision back and look at the numbers. And sometimes at the end, it's almost like I have to just say, okay, you know what? We just going to do it and just take the commitment to doing it, because I don't have a problem spending money.
You really don't. And if the only issue that I have is letting go of the funds, but all of the other things seem to line up, that's when I do need that push, right? And I'll be honest, there's not much I've regretted. Not much
Yeah.
at all. If anything, it was the money mistakes that we have made that I have regretted more so than actually spending any money. There's not much that we've spent money on and we discussed that I was like, we shouldn't have did that. I wish we had never did that.
That's understandable. You know, people always, regret the mistakes that they make. But, I don't even feel like you should always regret them. Just learn from them.
Yeah.
Don't repeat them, and
Right.
use those as lessons that can be foundational pillars that when you get in that situation again, you won't make that same mistake, because I look at mistakes as experience. And one of the best teachers is experience. And whether it's money or other things in life, if you take that experience and learn from it, when you get back in that situation again, you won't find yourself making that same mistake.
Yeah.
Because you can say, okay, I was in this situation. This was the outcome because this is what I did.
Right.
And then you can say, okay, well, all right, let's have this quick money date, because we were in this situation before. And maybe it's that reminder that can help you say, okay, well, no, we can do something different to get a different outcome.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that could be really great in a money date is encouraging one another in what you've done right. Right? Where you have won, where you found success, what is going well, and how you can amplify that or take that to the next level. That's exciting. That's energizing. And it gets you in a space where you're like, all right, yes, we want more of that. How do we do more of that? Right? And I think that if we can do that on both sides, I think it's important that no matter who brings the money in, who cooks the bacon, who does any of that you actually spend time encouraging one another in great money decisions or money successes and wins. So one thing that you could do on a money date is review how far you've come. Literally review how far you have come. Just look at where you started 6 months ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, and see where you are today. And that's encouraging, because ideally, you have made progress, even if it is a small amount of progress. And I think that will just give some real good perspective for what's possible in whatever the next season looks like for you, And then also, I would say how you overcame, right? Just having a conversation about how you overcame certain situations, or for instance, like when people have lost jobs, or when you had a serious medical event, or when you didn't know how you were going to pay off this debt, and then the circumstances and situation changed, or there's a myriad of things that you could look at and say, okay, how did we overcome this, and maybe how can we apply that knowledge or that reset to this today's situation.
I think you've heard me say how so many times people look at the negative things that they do as things that disqualify them, or they regret, or their mistakes.
Yeah.
But so many times people fail to realize that, I know we've made mistakes in our money past that got us into debt, and we had to find a way to get out of it. But it's those things, I think, that also qualify people, because people want to know that somebody else has been through it.
That part.
That if they did it, I can do it too. And that's the one thing that we're really trying to bring to the listeners. Like, look, we've been through a lot of good situations, a lot of bad situations, and we're still navigating, and we've come through that. And sure enough, if we've been able to do it, if you apply yourself and listen to the concepts, they can do it too. Because it's not that everybody makes mistakes,
right?
But it's what you do after the mistake. And so I just think those things qualify people, because it helps everybody behind you see that no matter how many bad decisions you make, you can always make another one.
Woo, you can make a better decision. You can
Yes,
learn from that bad
you
decision.
can make
Yeah.
another one that puts
Mm-hmm.
you in a better situation. And with money and relationships, which is what we always talk about, you can always get better outcomes. And they're not always going to be easy to accomplish. And I hope people don't mistake what we're saying as, oh, this is so easy, because it's not easy.
It's
But
not.
if you're committed to it and you can ride the wave, the highs and the lows, on the other side of that can be some smooth sailing.
So I got a question for you. What if one partner is not interested in having a money date and really?
That's when you tell them you better get your life right.
Oh Lord.
Or I mean, maybe you don't say that. Go on with your question.
I think you meant that. Cause you said it like you meant that junk. Okay, I'm just saying.
Remember back in the days, they used to say you better get right, church, and let's go home.
And okay. Let's just be clear. There's some truth to this. There's some truth, because if you don't want to talk about your money, then you may have a problem seeing what's possible and making a difference.
Look,
that's for real.
Look, if you making a decision on someone long term and they don't want to get in the conversation and talk about it now, that may be a very good indicator of how it will be. Well, no. Let me back up. It may not be a very good indicator. That is a very good indicator of how it will be on the other side.
Yeah, because don't think you're going to change somebody. Now, I will say, if somebody is reluctant to actually have a money date, maybe you redefine and the question becomes, what about this is challenging, or what about this don't you want, to do, and help me understand a little bit more. So
trying to alleviate their concerns. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, hey, we're going to get together and I'm going to attack you.
No, yeah.
Because it's a partnership, and that's where people forget. Partnerships are for mutual benefit.
That's right.
It's not a partnership, but I want to win and I want you to lose. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we have to remember, that when you're in partnership, we're going to the same place. We're going in the same direction.
That's
because
right.
You win, I win. You lose, I lose.
That's right. And then the other thing that I'll say too is, it is really okay if you say, all right, we don't have to do anything grand. We can simply let's just take 10 minutes and discuss what's in the way. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a money conversation. That's a money talk. I
think you get into the fact that it doesn't have to, you've already said this, it doesn't have to be 2 hours of back and forth. It could be, a 15-minute conversation dealing with something specific. Mm-hmm. It could be a 30-minute conversation getting a little more detail. Or if it's a date, it can involve, fun and, deal with some of the conversation, more fun, have a little bit more conversation, but you weave the conversation in and out of an experience that you're having, because now you can, you're looser and you can talk about it and maybe be more free to share and not feel like one person is attacking the other person.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just so funny in relationships how you could say you love somebody, but you be on the
defense.
Right. You look, you're not going to attack me. I'm ready.
That's right. That's right. Our posture. And I think we have to, figure out how to help our spouse let their guard down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think money dates ought to also have ground rules. I really do. I think one of them is, we're not going to talk about this very long. Here's what we're going to talk about, and set the stage. I care about you. I love what we're up to, and I just want to see us win financially. And so I don't want you to feel I don't want you to feel attacked.
I told you, I'm not going to be in no abusive relationships.
Right. And how do we create a safe space? What would make this safe for you to discuss this particular topic and adhere to what your partner actually says?
Look, we want to see people win with money, win in relationships. And I think that's why we do this, because we want to see people come out on the other side, creating legacy and generational wealth and, long-term marriages, because that's not something that we saw.
That's
well,
right.
you saw with your grandparents.
Right.
But that wasn't something I really saw in my families. My one aunt and uncle, they were married for a long time. But, it's not the norm.
It's not the norm.
It's not
Exactly.
the standard. Today in this age, it's become kind of the exception. So
Yeah. When you see people have lengthy relationships, you're like, wow, that's amazing, because
Right.
so many people don't get there.
Right.
And that's what we aspire to.
It requires some ebb and some flow.
It does. And some give and some take.
Yep.
Some patience. A lot of different things.
So let's talk about how we make it worth it with
Mhm.
money dates. So how would you say we make it worth it?
Simply set one up.
All right.
That's
Look,
it.
Straight into the point.
That's it. Find a time, set it up, figure out what you're going to talk about, and dream. That's it.
So
What would you say?
I would say initially, don't let them take forever.
Yeah.
Start slow and build from there.
Right.
So, you set it up, then don't take forever. Start slow and build it up. And if you need to have multiples, then, hey, who's going to turn down date nights?
Right.
So do them as needed. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And I think one other thing I would add is think the best. Think the best of your partner, that they have the best in mind, be it a different point of view from yours or not, but think the best, because I don't think that we intentionally are doing anything to offend. And so if we can think the best, that's a really good stage for a good money date or a money conversation.
Well, we hope you all are in the process of looking at your calendars.
Yes.
And setting up some money dates.
Yes.
So you and your partner can win together with money and love.
That's right. And we're so glad that you tuned in with us today. And here's to all of the awesome money dates that are going to make an impact in your relationship. We can't wait to connect with you again in our next episode.
Until next time,
we're out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on ForBetterAndWorth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.